documenting the front lines of the AI revolution, the AI Rebels podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the AI Rebels podcast. Excuse me, not the podcast. Today we have Zach Gunderson from Xylo AI to talk about what they're doing over there. Zach, thank you for joining us. Do you want to give us just a quick rundown of what Xylo is and who you are?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to meet you. I think I said in our email, Jay and Silent Bob is the vibe I'm getting from you guys. The backwards hat and the long hair, I love it. I watched your last podcast with Rahul. It was a great job. I like what you guys are doing. So
thank you. That was a good episode.
Yeah. So Xylo is the first socially intelligent AI. Socially intelligent AI for email specifically is the market we're attacking first. We have built it into Microsoft Outlook, natively integrated into the workflow of 91% of the American knowledge worker workforce. And we are able, using behavioral psychology and actually other aspects from human psychology, to build machine learning models that within a little bit of text from you, maybe this much, 100 words-ish, we can build a model about the way you communicate and how to communicate better with you. Not in any kind of manipulative, weird way, but just to say, hey, Spencer is way more direct than you. You should probably, be a little more forthright in your ask, or vice versa, right? Things like this. And to help build those relationships over time, it may be more importantly from a generative AI standpoint, to help you write in a way and generate text with AI in a way that sounds natural to you and is acceptable also and good for the person you're communicating with. And we found this is very powerful in business. There's also a lot of generative AI features with Xylo integrated into your Outlook that are things like being able to summarize things quickly, change languages, create prompts for emails that are similar to one another to achieve productivity gains, etc. So I guess I'll stop there.
Awesome. And then I'd be really interested to hear your story personally. What's kind of your background in? No, this is a slightly separate question as well, so this is perfect. And is actually the question I intended to ask first. So, anyways, so I'd love to hear more about you and more about your story. What's kind of your background and what led you into AI to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. Jake and I were talking a little bit before, and I think there's some similarities there, probably for any of us who got into AI, right? It's like, so, I came up, born and raised here in Minnesota. I was a pretty religious guy, actually, pretty involved in a lot of that kind of stuff and put a lot of my energy into that stuff, but also a businessman. So I went to the Carlson School of Management here, the University of Minnesota area, and eventually, after I was in California for a couple of years, but came back here and worked selling stuff to Target and worked as a district manager for Aldi. So I led 5 stores, 5 of the fastest growing stores in the country, and
Wow.
Hundreds of hires. Like really, really good experience just learning to kind of manage the business from soup to nuts, lead people, build teams. On the Target side of things, I worked for what's called a Target broker. If you didn't know the industry, it's kind of niche, but think about it. Like we manage the business from the P&L growth standpoint, go-to-market standpoint, and would take a cut off the top from anything that got shipped to Target, right? So that's high volume. So now you're growing brands. Like I managed the Graco brand at Target, for example. Graco's probably actually quite a bit more than that now. But yeah, a $500 million brand at Target a year. Grew the Nook brand from 5 million was falling off the face of the earth and got it turned back around, headed north to 25. Took the Scuncy brand and grew it from 15 million, 25 million a year to 150 million a year.
Wow.
In 3 years, through some pretty interesting stuff we did. I learned a lot from, and even that I apply today. So a lot about attacking the market. But if you hear, none of that has anything to do with tech. I was never in tech. I still have never written a line of code. Well, no, I had an MAS minor, so I did a little dabbling very long ago, but I'm not very good at it. And I thought I missed the boat, man. I thought I missed the boat on the industries that were shaking up the world. Hey, I was in CPG. I liked it. I did well. I was successful. But I looked at an opportunity to jump and do something that was mine. It's always been entrepreneurial. and never quite found the right one to take a jump at. When I opened OpenAI, when I opened ChatGPT, it was February 24, 2023. I'll never forget that day. And it blew my mind. And it could have been GPT or something else, right? For me, as a Luddite who's not used to what it was GPT. And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. We can talk to the computers now, guys. We can talk to the computers. I was like,
Do you understand? Yeah.
yeah, you guys get it. Like, this is a big deal. And some people are like, this is cool, and some people get enamored with certain aspects. But for me, it was more that aspect of. I believe that when you look at the advent of computing since what the 50s to now, I mean, you could argue at the start, you could argue wherever it starts, right? But I would say we've been poking at this technology with sticks, like drawing with dirt, because you're having to code, you're having to like convince this thing, the digital world, to do what you want it to do by talking in a language that we've created to be able to work with computers. AI creates a natural language way to communicate. When people don't understand, I'm sure you guys know, it's not actually talking to you. It's not actually smart. It's probabilistic, right? But it gives you a tool, gives you a way to communicate and work with this amazing technology in such a more powerful way. So anyways, I started to call everybody I knew, basically, because I wasn't in tech, and say, hey guys, how do we get started? What are we going to do? Let's go. We were beating up different ideas of what to do with it. I had kind of a vision for what I think is the way to use AI now. And we got together a Discord of 20 people within a month, of just people in my network from around the country, around the world, started jamming on stuff, and eventually got my co-founder and now COO, David Barta, joined, and he quit, went full time, and we really got started. And then my last day at my day job was 5/31 of 2023. And then we were at it. Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So from ideation, you had the idea for Xylo. What day, when, maybe not, maybe you don't know the exact day, but about when was that idea birthed?
Sure. I mentioned that 224 right when I opened it.
Mm-hmm.
And the real concept to me being that we can talk to the computers now, kind of jokingly, but kind of for real, like that natural, that I
Yeah.
think the natural language aspect is really right. There's AI in and of itself has a lot of cool things it could do in a lot of ways, but the thing inspiring to me is the natural language aspect and the power of that. And with that, there was a couple things that eventually birthed Xylo, which is specificity. You guys are familiar, I'm sure, with that the paper. All you need is attention, right, from 2017. So for viewers that don't know, right, this was the Google researcher paper. It came out. If you can actually pay attention to the specifics, that AI will not hallucinate as much, and it'll be helpful. Well, I would go even further than that. I think it's about user specificity. So if you think about how technology has been being used forever, well, especially in the SaaS era, it's you're modeling tops down. Hey, here's a group, and we're going to filter, and say, you're a part of this group, then this, then this. And that's how we advertise. That's how we customize. That's how we personalize. With AI, we now have the power to say, actually, what about this specific person? What about their specific context? And we have the power and computing ability to relatively cheaply actually do that and deliver an experience that is truly hyper personalized all the way down to the studs. And when you do that, you can have a better output. And so actually the first idea we were looking at was to kill Alexa. And I still think someday.
Love
But
it.
we did thought about what is a more specific application, for a market. You need to say, what's the business problem we're solving? And
Right.
we went to behavioral psychology. I'm sorry for the long story, guys, but
No.
The point at which that began to come into play was probably in May. It wasn't too much later. And at first we called it Harmony. It was never going to be Harmony, but we were going through our trademark process to figure out the right name or whatever. But Harmony and Xylo really are one Xylo, is what we ended up naming the company. But the idea is that kind of like I described, that behavioral psychology, working better with other folks, bringing it into the workplace, bringing generative AI into the workplace in a way that is private and also hyper personalized, and what I would call interpersonalized, from you to me and me to you, and create models that are truly one to one, infinitely. Of There's a model of how I communicate with Spencer and a model of how Spencer communicates with me, and a lot of that came from my time at Aldi. I did a training with a gentleman named Bob Logue, where we did training based on behavioral psychology for all the store managers in the upper Midwest. There's about 150 of them. Did this training in Milwaukee, I think. And he uses social psychology. And as a businessman and a leader, I've done a lot of these trainings of how to communicate better with other people, how to be a better leader, et cetera, et cetera. And they're helpful. I believe in them. You've got DISC, Dale Carnegie training, Franklin Covey. You've got lots of programs like this. And there's a $26 billion industry globally just for soft skills training. Folks come in, 50 grand for a 1 week training, et cetera, right? Again, so the one I did with Bob was great. And the reason I liked it, and the reason the store managers I had liked it, was because it's not about just what's internally motivating you. It's about, what did you say and what did they hear? Because you might have meant it this way, but what they heard is what actually matters. And just like that flip, right? It was powerful. Well, we all were like, great, let's go apply this. 2 weeks later, we're all back to communicating the same way we did before, right?
Yeah.
Because we're creatures of habit, and it's natural. And so that problem of pulling through the benefits from a training like that always kind of bugged me. And I would try to apply it even after that, because that was about a decade ago I did that with Bob. I would try to apply it in different scenarios, different jobs. And it was always helpful. But that was always a challenge. So we thought about, what can we do with this word calculator we have now that we can talk to computers, and this user specificity we have, and this power of generative AI. What if we build this thing into? What if we build principles from these trainings, which are powerful and valuable, but what if we build them into email? What if we build them into the thing you communicate with every day? And so we're rewriting for you. We're not just helping you with grammar, because communication and getting things done isn't just about having good grammar. Right? It's about who you are, who they are, what you meant, what needs to happen, what the situation is. And so by being able to model and building into your email, so using that context can give you that powerful insight and help folks work better together. And then eventually to even give leaders the power to understand the relationships. That was a big piece of that too. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really curious. So there's a couple things I want to touch on first. I think it's really interesting that you were so blown away by the natural language aspect, because to me, I found that a lot of people who are not necessarily technically minded didn't really get how big of a sea change that was. And so I'd be curious to hear from your perspective. Do you think that there's anything in your mindset or approach to life that led you to be, more receptive to realizing, what AI is and where it's headed?
So you mean like, you're saying that folks that are more technically minded or less technically minded didn't see it? Got it.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I'm just an odd duck, man. I don't know.
Story of our lives, Yeah,
I can give you a really long answer, but I gave you one of those. So I'm just going to go with that.
I like it. And then the second question I had was, have you guys explored any customer service applications for this yet? Because everything you've been talking about, I used to, for a while, I was training a customer service team, and the core problem exactly the same that you mentioned, of like, trying to communicate to my trainees that it's not how you say, it's what you say. And they never understood how to get that. So I was thinking that this would be really interesting in that arena.
It's a great point. Yeah, 100%. So we, guys, Labor Day Labor Day is when I think we were finally ready. So we've been building. This has been a big R&D lift, and we've been bootstrapped. And so in the last month, we said Labor Day, and then I've been kind of evaluating the data and say, before I turn the throttle open and start purposely driving a lot of eyeballs to this thing, we've always been quote, quote, public on LinkedIn, but we've never driven eyeballs on. We've been kind of like pseudo stealth, if you will, right? I don't believe in it, especially like the concept of stealth, but there's some advantages of it. If you're not stealth, people think, anyways. So we really just launched, basically, is what I'm saying. And in that, as we're going out and we are talking to folks, customer service, service related roles just come up again and again and again. Yes. And it's right. I mean, if you think about the place that we can be the most helpful, and it's not just customer service, and some customer service we aren't as good for because maybe they have a really specific system that they're using, and we are built into email. Now, eventually we will have an API and be able to help them in any place, right, in their CRM directly or whatever. But because of that, sometimes we haven't chased that as a unique group only. However, it really pops. It really pops, and you think about where a lot of that training money is spent that I mentioned, that $26 billion, it is with groups like this because it's hard. Yeah. It's hard. You've got a client. So the service facing, and then it's not even just customer service, but it's a role that you wouldn't think of as customer service, but it is. So let's think about, my role I mentioned at Target. I'm the sales executive, but I would have a team that would handle like inventory management or system maintenance for item setups and stuff like this, right? And those roles are very service in nature, and they would serve both the vendor and the brand that would pay us, and Target, who didn't pay us but really was our bread and butter. And they were kind of service facing to both, right? And a lot of times folks like that, and I bet you guys can think, if you think of an example, let me know. I bet you can think of other roles or professions like this where technically they're not customer service, but they really are. They're also like knowledgeable, and they have to be nice to these people, but they're not, because they're like, well, you're wrong. And you're like, yeah, but they're going to write a $3 million order, so be nice. Right. The roles like that, right? Service, but not service, I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious if you've heard any testimonial stories of someone, using particularly the social connection aspect of Xylo and seeing that bring about results in any.
Totally. Yeah, great question. Yeah, even as new as we are definitely are seeing and hearing stories like that, which is fun. So one recent one was, it was a CFO, who's really an acting CEO, is a PE guy, who has been really getting a lot of use on his Xylo, really likes it. And who was it? It was is it his controller? I don't remember. Somebody on his executive team that it was like, this person needs more detail. And this particular user, our customer, is like, I'm a CEO, essentially. He's like, I'm boom, 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 boom. But hitting that was like, oh, okay, I need to give her just a bit more, right? A bit more detail. And I started to do, like, instead of just 3 words, I started to do those 3 words and 2 points of short context for them. I didn't change entirely how I was, but I changed enough. And some of that was Xylo, it would click and it would do it for me. And some of it was, it's just kind of training me. And we get that a lot. I get that a lot too, where it's like, it's doing it for me some and helping me go way faster. But then sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, like we're training ourselves out of a job to some degree of really helping folks be better communicators and think about these things. And then it doesn't just apply in their writing, right? Because it's in their workflow and you're reinforcing that training in their regular workflow in their writing because they're in email all day. You're also then helping them when they're in a meeting and they're not even writing, because you're just making them think about it. Actually, it's kind of like attention is all you need for humans, right? Like, just pay attention. Don't be an a-hole. Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
There's a thing we're going for. And one of our users said this is like, this was about her writing. I don't know if it was about the behavioral psychology side, but we're not trying to replace it all. We don't want it to say, I hope this email finds you well. And we don't want it to not sound like you. So that's why actually also we also use telemetry to make it, we learn your writing style so that anything we generate is generated in your voice, like truly in your voice as well. but then has that adaptation to lean to them. But what we find is you don't want to lean it too much. If you lean it too much to the other person, it's like, ugh, that doesn't sound like me. It's weird. And even if you send it to them, they're going to be like, no, it's weird. But doing just that bit of nudging over this way and giving them those insights, we just find is really powerful.
It's almost like the personality mirroring for in-person work, where it's like, hey, you know, just slightly mirroring someone's personality makes them like you a lot more.
It's basically it. Actually, it's essentially it in a rub. It's a really good way to describe it. I missed what I was meaning to say there too about that one, which would relate to what you're saying. That one user, the CEO of an HR organization, she's like, I've been doing this for a long time. This is better. I like this writing better. And she would get to when I would do the rewrite and I would hit generate, I would be like, oh yeah, that is better. Which I think is like my favorite tagline for us.
That's a big deal.
That is better.
That is better.
But you need to, oh yeah, because it needs to be soft enough. Because if you put psychology in people's faces, look, we're not storing emails. We don't see anything about you. None of that. Like it's all extremely private. But it can feel creepy. You can give that ick factor if you're not careful, right? Even the psychology, the guys who come in and do these trainings talk about this. So you need the, oh yeah, that is better. Instead of like, ugh, you're just like force, you know? And that's the real nuance to it, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to hear how you guys have managed that nuance. Have there been any kind of conscious decisions you guys have made, or has it been mostly you guys have kind of ended up at the right place just by merit of approaching it with like open mind, I guess?
Yeah, I would say both. I mean, definitely open mind. I mean, that's not to toot my own horn, but kind of my superpowers. You know, talk to the team. I'm open. I'm great at admitting when I'm wrong and shifting quick. And I just believe in that. I think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time to have an ivory tower. But it's also because I mean, I really believe in 0 to 1. I don't know if you guys know that framework, Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. I know it's very popular to go in and just iterate and throw it out to a bunch of customers and iterate. You had actually Rahul on the last one, and that their company is doing something like that. And there's a reason that's popular. That's a great approach in many cases. And we've actually got a lot of flack for not using it as much. What we're designing is something truly new, a disruptive product for a mainstream market. And you need to design for it. You know, Henry Ford's famous quote about if they told me what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. You right. So it was that to a degree, but then that open-mindedness and then iterating. As far as how we and by the way, as we get in and we get with more and more users, we're gonna do that optimization, that right. The quantitative, but it's the mixing the qualitative with the quantitative that's very important. Actually, I'll go back to, I mentioned the Scuncy brand at Target that we grew from, I think it was 30 million to 150 in 3 years. The first thing we did was a huge qualitative study, constant conversations with folks that would go to the shelf and were shopping it and talking to them about their journey for months and taking those qualitative insights and designing an update to that 30-foot planogram and that $300 million space that we had 30 million of, to take it over and eventually get 150 million of that space. And it started with qualitative first. After the qualitative, then you do the quantitative, and then you marry them together, and then you iterate, and then you can make hay. It's the same here. So we've had 60 formal interviews for a company of our stage before we even launched. 60 formal recorded usability interviews that we've done, saying, here's our interface, here's how we're going to do it, what do you think, and then taking that and updating it.
Wow.
We also have 5-6 different PhDs in behavioral psychology, organizational psychology, different aspects that are signed advisors or investors in Xylo who have contributed, and we'll meet with them and talk with them, and they also will give stuff to our data science team to say, okay, here's what we should be modeling, and then we're building models with that input. And then as far as that ick factor and watching out that, I think the biggest help has been Bob, that guy I mentioned at Aldi, who is now one of our advisors as well. So he's not PhD, but he's a practitioner in the field teaching people this every day, right? And he's the one saying like, yeah, guys, like, if you go this far, they're not going to like it. If you go, you know what I mean? Anyway, so it's I guess sorry, it's a long answer, but lots of things. Yes.
No, yeah.
No, that's perfect.
I'm curious, you mentioned you use the big five, personality factors. Obviously, there are so many models in that space. I'm curious if there's a story behind picking that, if it worked better with your models, if it was easier to integrate, or if it was you just liked that model.
Great
I had the
question.
same question.
Great question. Do you guys know the big five and of that? Okay. I actually wasn't super familiar with it when it came up, to be honest. So it's interesting you asked that. It came up from one of our investors, a data science. I guess since I said he's an investor, I shouldn't say his name, but he's a lead data scientist at a public corporation, leads a team there, and is a behavioral psychologist as well. Actually, out from y'all's way, out from Utah.
Oh, nice.
And he came in. We had a project to add. So we started with behavioral psychology. So we started with there's basically two, I would call it continuums in behavioral psychology: either how assertive you are on the X, and on the Y, how emotive you are in your communication. If you're way more controlled and keeps things to the vest, or if you're a little bit more verbose and emotive in how you communicate versus right. So those two, and that's when I talk about like helping folks understand one another better. And I talked about the training I did with Bob Rusey. That's behavioral psychology. But we didn't want to just have one framework, and we actually don't want to just have two in there. We're going to eventually have more. But we just said, what is the next framework? And we talked to this guy, this data scientist and behavioral psychologist that we respected. We looked at a few different things, and the big five really kind of came to the top. It's really known. It's really respected. There's a lot of stuff out there. So it's easier to get training data, easier to get research about it.
Yeah.
It had a lot to do with that. And it's just, it's an accepted model. I don't believe that any one is like, oh, that's the one. They're all good. They're all good. And they're all, there's kind of, anyways. So yeah, that was it.
Okay.
That's really interesting. I'd be fascinated to see how other personality models affect, what your model generates in the end. Because what if you throw like an Enneagram at it, or
I love
MBTI, something like that. That'd be really interesting. So I'll be fascinated to
follow. Actually, we looked at MBTI. We chose MBTI has some similarities to the behavioral psychology. Otherwise, that was actually my first choice, Spencer, was MBTI.
Yeah.
But then our advisor pulled us on. I think what will be interesting is that different folks like different things.
Yeah.
And when we're going, especially in larger deals, as we work into larger organizations, we think that there is an integration service for this, where we could collaborate with them and their provider of choice to create like a container within Xylo that's specific to MBTI, for example. So those take some partnership conversations and things like this. But I do think, or they have the data. I mean, it's so easy. We have a RAG built in, so it's not the main thing we talk about usually. But if an organization wants to, they say, hey, we did this training. Give me the data. I can build it into the RAG. No problem. We did this training. We know people's MBTIs, and we want to do this as a company. We want to stand behind it more. Sure, let's put in the RAG, and now it's in your Xylo. How cool is that, right?
Yeah.
And for our less technical listeners, a RAG is retrieval augmented generation. So just pulling some data and then passing that to the AI model to generate whatever the end product is.
I'm really just proud that it sounded like you included me in the not less technical people.
Hey, the term. The term RAG. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you know the term RAG, you're already more technical than 90% of the people out there. So
yeah, I was just talking about what I was going to clean up the kitchen with. I don't know what you were talking
about. Oh man. So how big is the team at Xylo right now?
So we have myself, Roger Lamb, our CTO, co-founder. He came from Ahead, was VP of engineering there, basically single-handedly, I would say. I'm probably biased, but was responsible for a $4 billion acquisition from MBX into Ahead, and he's just an absolute killer. I mean, the Sphere, the Sphere in Vegas. He designed the servers for it. He was like Netflix was getting all their servers. He's just amazing. So you guys want to have him on, just get nerdy on technical.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah,
We might need to.
yeah. And Bara, my co-founder and CFO, also helps to lead our product operations, and myself. And then we have a senior staff engineer and a front-end engineer. And then we have a product and operations professional starting full-time Monday. And then we have what I call the militia, or Monday today. She's starting today. I was supposed to call her actually. And it goes so fast. And then we have what I affectionately call the militia of part-timers. We've had probably 60 people work on this over the last year. People that I've just brought in because I'm kind of a crazy worker, and we have agreements we would make for equity vesting and whatever. We've definitely tightened that up over the last several months as we got farther past the R&D heavy lift part and wanted to get tighter on a core smaller team. So sorry, that's a long answer to say. I don't even really know quite how to answer, but I'd say 5 plus or full time. But yeah.
Geez. So you kind of mentioned this in passing earlier on, and you said our first area we're attacking kind of with this model of utilizing social connections and these models is email. I'm curious if you have, and it's okay if you're like, that's a little, not going to talk about our next steps, but if you are willing to, I'm curious what other applications you're thinking you would potentially pivot to with this Xylo idea.
Yeah, I love it. So, one, email is the most successful communication platform in the history of the world, like by a very wide margin. And I think it's easy for those of us in tech to get excited and think that's dead. Everybody only uses Slack now. It's just not true. And I don't, maybe someday, but that's where the users are. And especially that's where the non-adoptive users are, which is what we're really trying to build this for. So it'd be natural for folks that aren't like us getting all nerdy about AI, right? So on the one hand, I don't know that we're ever going to have to expand too much, TBD. But on the other hand, yes, I see this as, I mentioned specificity and then the social aspect. The first principles that we're building on have applications really to almost any use of AI, but specifically within communication and written communication. We're building a web application that can integrate not just to your Microsoft, but also to your Gmail that eventually we will probably do. Probably Teams would come after, and then Slack, etc. But we do have an intention that there will be this central hub that has integration to whatever you're using, but so that if you want, you can go to one place to see your models, your relationships, your communication from any platform. But I really believe in that integration needing to be flawless, like stupid flawless. So we're going to do it one at a time, and we're going to go slow to go fast.
Love it.
So I had a question, and this is perhaps out of the scope of Xylo, but a very common problem in today's business world is phishing and spearfishing campaigns are becoming more and more sophisticated.
Could you spearfishing? I should know that term, but what's the difference between that?
Spearfishing? So spearfishing is just when they're going after like a very specific individual. So it's like, they know they want to hit the CTO at Xylo, so they So I'd be curious, have you guys ever considered any applications of this technology for, flagging an email as like, hey, like the way this guy's talking is kind of weird. I probably wouldn't do anything he's saying to do without talking to your boss first.
like that. Red alert. Weird. Yeah. So we have a feature, we call it red flags. And I don't think we'll call it red flags forever. I think that name is terrible, but I'm not into naming right now. I'm into building. But
it's a good code name.
Yeah. But essentially, it's more on your side where it's like if you're gonna say something offensive, it's gonna be like, "Yo, Spencer,
chill out
here." Yeah, chill. And we have, I mentioned the RAG or the database that we can put your custom input. So a customer wants to say, "Hey, I want to have Xylo for my team," but then I also never want them to use the word guarantee because we're a commercial lending firm and we don't make guarantees. we can guarantee your team never says the word guarantee in writing, right?
Yeah.
So you could apply that same kind of functionality. We've talked about it to what you're saying, Spencer. I'm not sure that like there aren't a bajillion people trying to solve that super specific problem, and that I shouldn't be careful. But I do think there's applications, and I know what you mean about it as an issue. So I got to think about that.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because, like I said, it seems like it might be kind of out of scope for you guys because since you're focused on the communication. But as you were talking about, I was like, like a very common thing with phishing emails is they all kind of have a sort of a signature to them of things are phrased properly but not quite normally.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's actually honestly. So I mentioned why I haven't like overly pursued, even though it's been there, and I also thought like, look, if we can figure out how to do it low lift enough, it really makes sense with the platform. We're building it for email, and like that's
Right.
that's where you need to catch things. So like, but I never heard that idea that you just mentioned now about not
There
just so I'm stealing it. So yeah,
go for it. Go for it.
the psychology aspect of it is something I've thought about. Like, oh, we're positioned from a positioning standpoint in email to do that,
Right.
and I was thinking more traditional methods of doing that, which we can and probably will do as table stakes. But saying, hey, this guy's got the ick.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Called the ick scan.
I like
There it is. Oh man. So
spear alert.
there you go.
Spear? I don't know.
Obviously there's so much going on.
Kitty.
Yeah, he
he's our mascot.
Sometimes he comes in and demands to join.
Yeah.
Is that a kid like a Maine Coon or something? That's a big cat.
Found him in the dirt.
Nice.
Anyways, Jake, what was your question?
Yeah. No, you're good. I was gonna ask, obviously it's moving so fast, and a big worry, especially as we've talked to a lot of these other founders, is we're working on this tool. We just talked to somebody like last week, and he had put all this work into a product, and literally as he was like seeking investors, Google released something that just knocked the legs out from under it, and he's like, all right, well, that was that, pivot to something else. Is there any worry on your side, like Microsoft CoPilot, like stealing this and taking it?
Nope, not even a little bit.
Yeah,
that's actually the right question though. Everybody asks it. I'm going to say a couple things. What I'm going to say, this is the one thing I keep up in my office.
Be brave.
Do not forget. Yeah, I'm kind of joking, but it's for real, man. I mean, you have but the other, and I think that's part of a benefit to us when people think you can't go do what you're doing. We're approved by Microsoft. We're certified by Microsoft. We have free credits from Microsoft. We have a patent. We have connections there, actually high level, including product manager for the Surface. And so we have those protections, patent especially being what I like to call our speak softly and carry a big stick protection. But more importantly, it's really different than what they're doing. So it's easy to look at it because the features, and I think it's going to be easy to look at a lot of solutions or a lot of products and mistakenly conflate them with something else because the table stakes features look the same. All these things can summarize. All these things can write text. All these things can do this. Like that's the baseline. That's the new web, right? It's AI can do these basic things basically for free. It's what do you do with them and your positioning as a noun, not a verb, to the market. So what is ours? Psychology, human communication, working better together. Does that sound like Microsoft? Microsoft is a productivity base, and they want Azure consumption, and they want to cap, right? They're just playing an entirely different game, and they want folks like us to add richness to their platform to help them compete with the others. So I have never once, I've seen that, and I don't even disagree with what you're saying, by the way. You do see that all the time, but that's when people don't take care of their positioning. They don't do the verb positioning to get to the noun positioning, so they have no real positioning. And then when somebody releases a feature that's similar to theirs, they're effed, right?
Right.
So Yeah, believe it or not, I'm really not worried about that. I'm just worried about executing, right? You got to execute. You
Yeah.
got to attack the market. It's yeah.
Execution is the only moat there is, really.
Right.
That's something that I've learned over and over again as I've grown.
Oh yeah.
I love that. That's a great way to put it.
Do you guys have any plans to ever do any type of auto reply feature, or is this always the idea is always keep a human in the loop? We're always enhancing human communication specifically.
You guys don't mind if I go get a cuppa, do you?
No, you're
No,
good.
not at all. Go for it.
I'm famous on my team for never sitting still. So this is like the longest I ever sit still for a meeting. So do we have auto reply? Yeah. So I think I showed you guys before we started the call a little bit in the product. Oh, and I'll just mention the guys said, hey, you could show it. And I'm like, nah, I want people to go check it out themselves. So go to the website, Xylo AI, check it out, download it if you're a Microsoft person, or sign up for the Gmail waitlist. But I do think there will be auto reply eventually. So right now we have rewrite and we have quick draft. And rewrite will say, you wrote your email and you want to make it better. It's especially what we see people using a lot for. It's like high leverage emails to important folks, a little complex. But they don't want to take so long. People will agonize over an email. I don't know if you guys have been in roles like this for half hour, right? And we can turn that into 5 minutes because you can brain dump, do your best. It's not perfect. You can write sloppy email and then hit rewrite and boom, cleans it up, does it in your voice, right? So that's rewrite. That's if you're giving a lot of input. Now go down the step one more, which is less input. Our quick draft allows you to save prompt templates. We have like a speak like Hulk one just for fun, right? Like answer in the affirmative like Hulk, yes. But like also making real ones that
Right.
but that prompt box ability, that's there now. Auto reply is the next one we have considered, where you just click and it just responds. And we already have that functionality. I'm curious. My question is still to the team: when do we want to release that? Is it really what we're about? With everything else I've
Yeah.
been saying. So I
Right.
guess I'm saying I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. You have the capability, but not sure if it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think? I love to hear like how do you want to do
No,
it, right? You want to, yeah.
this is exactly why I asked, because I think that this is kind of one of the fundamental questions that every AI product is going
Yeah.
to have to answer for themselves is like, are we a human in the loop product, or are we a fully autonomous, here's your buddy Xylo who will answer all of your emails for you?
So we're definitely human in the loop product. And I
Yeah.
love that dichotomy of how you just set it up. And that, I mean, maybe that even answers my question. I mean, you still might want to give them that ability though.
No, right. Yeah, exactly. Like it's a hard line to walk where it's like, is giving people that ability then kind of shifting the incentives for the product away from what you want it to
Right.
be, but also at the same time, like you want to give people lots of options.
I also can see, because right now with the human in the loop, you sidestep a lot of
yes.
liability.
Yes.
Whereas if all of a sudden a reply is sent by Xylo in whatever way, all of a sudden maybe you're shouldering more of that liability. And so I can definitely see the downside there. It's tricky. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. And for us, we're definitely human in the loop. A human in the loop is I don't know. What do you guys think? Not just for us, but in general. Like, are we really ever going to a place with full autonomy in most tasks? I'm not so sure. I think folks would jump ahead on that. And some tasks, sure, especially more black and white, mathematical only based stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like with language, it's still just a word calculator. It's still just guessing. It's hard for me to imagine that. Maybe I'm wrong. But at least at where it's at now, and we're pretty close to the forefront, I don't see it. Not really.
I think that it's going to have to be human in the loop for a while, simply because like it's going to be incredibly expensive to spin up and maintain the infrastructure necessary to observe and monitor, however many AI agents you have running,
Mhm.
because you need that visibility. Like that's something that I think people overrate when they're talking about like the potential of AI to replace jobs. Is uh, middle management does actually have a role. Like they're much maligned and sometimes often for good reason, right? But it's like ultimately like there is a role for middle
Yeah.
management, and AI agents aren't gonna take off until the supervisory architecture costs less than a middle manager.
Right. I
Because
think also just
you need some level of that grunt management of like, are you on task?
right.
You know,
Right.
It's
cracking the
true.
whip and all that.
Yeah,
I like that.
exactly.
It's middle management. Like, yeah, yeah. And right now, I mean, I can think of other things we do. Like, we're trying to build, this isn't even AI, we're trying to build process for marketing or whatever. Well, when you're building process, if you trust too much in the process and you don't actually go down to the studs on something, things fall through the cracks. You're like, well, we have a process. Well, it's not working.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that with AI. We get excited about automating it. And it's like, well, yeah, but you got to really like put a lot of wrenching into that process to really trust it. And then can you still trust it? And then does that cost less than just hired a couple dudes? Probably not at
Mhm.
this stage, right?
Right. And the human in the loop model, I think, is also necessary just for adoption. I think
Mm,
particularly the older
Yeah.
generation who maybe is not as familiar with AI. I truly don't see it happening soon just because nobody is going to trust it. No one's going to be like, take my emails over. You know what I mean? Just own them and send those replies. Like, no one's going to want that yet.
they won't.
Particularly CEOs, CFOs, who are the ones the decision makers aren't
Mm,
going to want that yet.
totally.
Yeah.
So I
Totally.
think it's necessary. And, you know, we've talked to some very optimistic people who think AGI is not that far away. And maybe, who knows, it could happen.
You're gonna get me started, man. You're going to get me
But
out of here.
what do you think? How far, what would you
It's a,
say?
it's a boogeyman. Come on. Hey, out of here. What are we? Skynet is so stupid. I'm sorry. I'll just leave it at that. I'll get myself in trouble. But I don't
I
believe.
mean,
Yeah, I think it's a term somebody made up. I think there's it's fine. It's getting smarter. What does that
Mhm.
mean? It's better than the average person. Look, it's not. It's not. We just said it. You're not. I think the fundamental error people that are talking about that make, and actually a lot of people when they're even the people on the other side that are worried about AI and don't want to use it, they as well, is they think this thing is sentient. Dude, it's a probabilistic model. It's
Yeah.
math. That's it. You can relax. It's okay.
There's
And
no man behind the curtain. It's
no
just like,
math.
it's just math.
It's just math. And then if you think about just math, when it's just math can make people's jobs faster, it can elevate their role, but you need that decision maker and that creative thinker.
mhm,
What it does, I think it's insulting to human beings. It tells us that human beings don't actually bring something to the table anymore because this math machine is going to do everything. It's short sighted, and it underrates how important people still are. People are still the value creators in a business and in this world. They have a better tool now. Great. It doesn't mean that we're going to have Skynet. It does not. And it doesn't mean they're
yeah,
not needed. We've just given them a way better tool to do way cooler stuff with.
yeah, yeah. I mean, a holistic human, just the diversity of experience and everything
Yeah.
currently can't be competed with. Maybe it can take the bar exam and crush it,
Right.
and do better than the average human on the bar exam, but like just the holistic human can't be competed with yet.
Right. You don't just go around doing bar exams all day, right? You're context switching and you're doing the bar exam and you got to get dinner for blah, blah. Like there's just too much connection. It's the decision. I think it's the decision making and the creativity
Hmm.
that like it just I don't know where you would even you can't because again it's a prediction model. It's always going to be looking backwards and making guesses rather than looking forwards and designing something that's better. And I don't just mean that as a new product, but as a analyst, right? Finding something and thinking about it in a way differently. Yeah. Anyways, I get pumped about the AGI stuff. I know you guys. This is like it the stuff that it's doing outside of just the natural language is really incredible on how I do really believe it's going to change medicine, change research, change space exploration, change a lot of really, really big, especially scientific and kind of mathematical in nature stuff that has huge data sets and that just need to get crunched. I mean,
Yeah.
For me, what I'm really optimistic about, well, I'm optimistic about it a lot, but I do think that I think that AI kind of has the potential to elevate psychology beyond where it is, and we'll see if that bears out. I'm hopeful.
What's about that? Could you tell me more? What you? I mean, obviously that's in our space, but yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah, so essentially, so I mean, there's the whole replicability and crisis in psychology, and this is a little bit of a half-baked thought, admittedly.
Podcast, friend.
Yeah, exactly. So, and to me, I see a lot of parallels between AI and the invention of the printing press, where we suddenly have a radically new and more durable way of storing and reproducing information. And in doing so, that led to, you know, the evolution of alchemy into a proper science, and it became chemistry, right? And so I kind of see AI as being in a similar space where it's a whole new way to encode information about the human mind that potentially makes it more interpretable to psychology, to psychiatrists. I just firmly believe that every step we take further along in understanding cognitive processes, we get closer to unlocking, you know, how to actually fix schizophrenia, how to actually solve severe anxiety, depression, etc.
You got me pumped. You're right. I like that.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating.
And that is an aspect of what we're doing with grabbing. I mean, again, we're able with a relatively small amount of text to do what we're doing. You know, it's pretty. It's reading.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Look at models or anything. Yeah, it's really cool. We can start to do stuff like this. I mean, you think about like the movies where it's like a ransom note, right? But then they analyze the handwriting. Like, this guy's a psychopath because he writes like that, right? You can kind of tell something about somebody by how by their handwriting or by their actual copywriting. And by doing that, you know, we're applying it in the workplace. But like you're talking about, could we say, hey, you know, give us a lot of writing, put it in this model, and we could actually do more with that from just like a mental health standpoint. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that'd be fascinating. Well,
can I?
I know we're
getting close. You brought up. Oh, can I give you one more?
Yeah, please.
You brought up the printing press. I wear this around my neck. It's a Phaistos disc. You guys know what a Phaistos disc is? So, Crete, I think it was Crete, somewhere down one of those islands, like 1,500 years before Gutenberg's printing press. There's a disc they found about this big that this person must have made a movable type to create this. 1,500 years before, but nothing really ever came of it. Why? When you invent something cool, the printing press, it needs the right moment in time. It needs the right market. It needs the right distribution. All of these things. So why did this just like get buried 1,500 years before and wasn't a thing? We don't even know for sure, right? Why was Gutenberg's press so powerful? There's a lot of reasons why, right? And it didn't just have to do with the invention. So there's the invention.
Yeah.
And then there is, how do you bring it to market and how do you crack the code to help that innovative thing become a necessity in people's lives, right? That's what we're doing with AI. Try to bring it to those Luddites like me that don't use a lot of technology. Those old folks that don't want it to touch. Yeah, how do you do that? You have to design something for them. So that's what we're doing.
Now's the time too.
I want to touch on that really quick because this is a problem that I see constantly with AI founders. You know, I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm online a lot. I see just about every new AI startup that gets launched. And so many of them are designing things that people don't want. It's like, dudes, like, go out there, talk to people. Like, they don't want what you're selling. I think that I mentioned this in another episode, but I saw one the other day where it was like someone spun up a social network where you sign up and you automatically have thousands of like AI generated followers. I'm like, who do you think wants this, man? Like this is a fun research project. This is not a product, dude. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing with your life?
Oh my God. That's where you mentioned earlier, I mean, an advantage for us, for me is not being that technical and having that moment, and honestly kind of stubbornly staying non-technical. Because we got to think about it, not like us. We got to think about it like them. And otherwise we're just, we're building shit we think is cool. Sorry. We're building stuff we think is cool. Okay.
Right. Cool idea. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And it's like you said, now's this unique time where I feel like the environment has been built. Everyone's wanting AI applications, but it just has to be built in the right way. And it sounds like Xylo is really focused on that, which I love. We had had a company on in our first season called Game, GAIM, and almost their whole focus is appealing to non-technical users. It's like, let's bring AI and just make it accessible. Let's just make AI accessible to everybody. And I think everyone in the space right now has to have at least an undertone of that thought process. Otherwise, it's going nowhere. The percentage of the population that knows what RAG means is tiny, let alone that actually can grasp how an LLM works. Like, it's just you gotta start with people. It still starts with people. That's what it comes to. It just comes back to people.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah, we have to be talking founders. If you guys founders listen to this, it's just my number one thing. Like, just talk to users, man. Talk to users. Look at the data. Like, that's who butters your bread. Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
You guys, thank you. I'm sorry we went long, and I've got to get going, but
No,
you're
worries.
good. Thank you for coming on.
Before you jump off quickly, if people want to follow Xylo, want to follow you, what would be the best platforms to do that on?
Yeah, you mentioned Twitter. I'm embarrassed to say I'm such a Luddite. I don't have a Twitter, and I think they'll make me do it eventually. LinkedIn, you can follow me, Zach Gunderson, ZACH, and then Xylo AI, XYLO AI. But mostly say go to the website. Go to the website, check us out. Xylo.ai, XYLO.ai. We've got an app source. If you're a Microsoft user, go in, get it downloaded. And if you're not, like I said, sign up for that wait list, and we'll be blasting stuff out as our web application and Gmail stuff is ready that folks want to try as well. But yeah. If you want to reach out to me, also, like, your fellow founder, want advice, want to have a conversation, I believe we're all in this together, and I think that, like, interactions are really important. So anybody wants to reach out, I'll have a conversation.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining us, Zach.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Zach.
We're getting up early. It was great to chat.
This was wonderful. Yeah, we'll stay in contact.
Let's do it. Peace.